1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I get the sunshine. I get the sunshine. I was thinking when I first came in, I've never actually stood in a swimming pool. You know, and it took me, looking around, it took me back to my youth and swimming pools, and you know, you come swimming in here, but you'd never actually seen it empty. So it's an interesting. Anyway, thank you, Civic Group, for the invite. I know it was a bit short notice, but anyway, my name's Claude Hendrickson, and I'm from Leeds. I'm trying to work this thing out. I'm from Leeds, and I'm part of our climate action group in Leeds. And I'm involved in the housing section of Climate Action Leeds. So we wrote a proposal for housing under Leeds Climate Action. I'm the founder of a project which you're going to find out a little bit more about called Frontline Self-Build. I'm right now an accredited community-led housing advisor. I'm also a community land trust ambassador. And I'm the equalities and diversity and inclusion associate with Leeds Community Homes. So my role within the community-led housing sector is to look at equality, diversity, and inclusion. I'm part of a We're Right Here campaign think tank, which I'm going to tell you a little bit more about in a while. I'm also part of a think tank that goes by the name of Same Skies West Yorkshire. And at this moment, I'm doing a bit of research into BME people within the community-led housing sector. Next slide, please. What I'm going to do quickly is take you on a journey, my housing journey, what inspired me, my observations, implementation, and promotion. Now, for 6 minutes, I want you to watch this video. Some of you may have seen this video a long time ago, but just to set the scene, thank you.
'Randolph Martin. Supposed to do in a house a month. We're a bit behind. There's still a fair bit for us to do. It's just that we're worried about getting the shelves up before the winter. I don't know. I reckon we'll still get them up for October, end of October. Yeah, I reckon so. Twelve of us are building our own houses. Most of us live in substandard housing or homes that are not our own. We've been trying to get the outside work done by December. The project was the vision of one local man, Claude Hendrickson.
It was all cobbled streets. It was atrocious. And this is what really drives me. In the mid-80s, we had streets and streets of houses blocked up. Empty. Boarded up, doing nothing, whilst people were living 3 to a bedroom, 4 to a bedroom. And again, these were things that inspired us to get up and do the self-build. You're talking in maybe 20 houses, you're talking at least 8, 9 of them, not like this. And turn the camera. You know, you talk about 8, 9 of them in disrepair like this. This was the tendency in nearly every single street within Chapeltown.
Last year, winter, this started happening. This is my flat, a typical example of the housing around the area. And I can't live here anymore. It's not as bad now, but wait till the winter sets in again. All this is going to drop down.
My name is Michael Bent, one of the bricklayers for Frontline Self-Build. Today, Saturday, what we've decided to come in today and actually finish the gable end so that we can actually have it all ready, prepared for Monday morning. To me, Frontline is my life. We're doing a good thing for the community, not just in building houses, but to teach the young generation out there, if they want something in life, they can actually get that with hard work.
This is upstairs. Got all the studding, all the door linings are in position. This will be the bathroom. I mean, a lot of people have come in and says it's a bit small, but I mean, as far as we're concerned, it's for us, you know. And I know Mike, I brought all my kids up here, and right now they're arguing about the bedrooms. I think I've got to sleep downstairs now. But I don't mind. It's mine, my house. I built it. The weather's not been too kind to us, but we still managed to just keep up. I reckon I could still do it, depending on the guys. The other day it was raining, and when I say it raining cats and dogs. And this guy was in the gutter, and I said, Mackie, tea time. And he said, Shorty, F the rain, let's get this trench dug. I mean, that's the kind of attitude I'd like to hear. Comic Relief has given us the money to pay for Graham Gill. He's our site supervisor.
At this moment in time, we've been on site 6 months. We've put up the equivalent of 10 houses, which really, realistically speaking, for a self-build, well, it's better than any self-build that's ever gone before it. No other self-build has managed to do it as quick as this, or to the standard that this one's been done either. This is the largest group that I know of within Chapeltown region, 12 men working together, and I think the experience that they gain from this will help them to stay together, to form a cooperative and tender for work within the community.
Some of the people that are out of work right now, in a couple of years, we could be employing them ourselves and helping to solve the housing problem that we have in our community. You're not saying self-build can solve it, or we're not saying Frontline can solve the whole of it, but we're saying Frontline is definitely taking a step in the right direction.
My name is Dyson Thomas. My dad's name is called Thomas Cecil Thomas.
The youths out there, they don't really have much really to look forward to, because I never. Now it's our turn to show our generation what they can really do if they put their mind to it.
One love, what about a one heart, what about a little? Let's get together and feel alright. As it was in the beginning, one love, so shall it be in the end. One heart, alright. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. On from that, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a long time in the making. I was quite young then, a long time, 30 years ago. So I've been banging this drum for community-led housing for over 30 years. Even with doing a project like that you would believe that the system would think that more of it should be done, but it hasn't been done. And we're gonna go through, I look back over the housing, and when you talk about retrofitting, I put retrofitting against gentrifying communities, because they didn't need to knock down a lot of the houses that they did. They could have retrofitted them in the 60s and 70s and probably saved a hell of a lot of money. So retrofit for me versus gentrification. And being of the African Caribbean community, we've had to observe and live through the gentrification of areas like Brixton, Ladbroke Grove, Moss Side, Chapeltown, Radford in Nottingham, Handsworth in Birmingham, where there was the opportunity right there to retrofit, to refurbish, to train and give people employable skills. And when you speak about the history of housing in the UK, you know, they haven't been building enough houses or keep up with houses for over 40 years. So we've not come to this problem kind of by, for me, it's by mismanagement of governments and local authorities, but we don't want to get into that. But so there in the 80s, we were sitting in communities, high unemployment, construction was going down the pan, not enough construction workers, and anybody that's got a house will always find out to find a good plumber, to find a good electrician, to find a good painter and decorator. Even now, we're struggling. So that was the 80s flip. In the 90s, the government came up with what they said was another way of dealing with the housing problem we had in the UK. They created housing associations, housing, and I loved, where's he gone? With the poem, where's the poem man gone? Oh, the poem man's right at the back, sang about the landlords. And they created that new form of landlords, which was housing associations, which came into areas, especially into our area, and said they would be with sweeteners about they would create jobs and employment and training to young people in that area. It never happened. So that was, and then there was the right to buy. Maybe a better option would have been, if I can remember, the right for the community to take on housing. And then they created a kind of situation where they have social housing and they have affordable housing. Now you have to ask yourself which one of them you fit into. Are you going into social housing or are you going to affordable housing? Next slide. So that was what drove me at a young age of 28 when we set out on the journey with the Self-Build project to look at if we couldn't do it ourselves. And we found community-led housing. And just here, for those of you that don't know, the different options around community-led housing: custom-built, self-built, cooperatives, co-housing, and community land trust. And as it was said before, housing is the foundation of community wealth. If communities live in decent houses, communities generally get on better than those that live in bad housing. Next slide. So my journey, quickly, Frontline Self-Build started on the 23rd of March 1993, actually on site. It took us 6 years to get to that point, and in 18 months we laid 92,000 bricks, 52,000 blocks, and built 12 semi-detached houses, which the bottom picture shows you them houses 25 years on. Next slide. Leeds Community Homes, who I am an associate with, and which is part of the People Powered Homes Network. And we're wanting to contribute to solving the housing crisis through cooperatives and community-led housing. So we're not saying that community-led housing will solve the housing issue, but we want to contribute. Why cannot people who, for example, in Leeds, we've got something like a 23,000 housing waiting list. 23,000 people waiting for housing. So why can't they contribute to solving their housing problems? I mean, across Britain, I don't know how many people are on housing waiting lists, but I'm sure it would be close to 500,000. Why can we not contribute? So very much, I was commissioned by Leeds City Council back in 2015-16 to write a 10-year strategy for community-led housing. And I'm just going to take you through some of the small outcomes that came. Next slide, please. We had projected back then, because Leeds needed to build 50,000 houses. So Leeds had said that in 2016, over the next 10 years, they were going to build 50,000 houses, which isn't happening. Won't happen, but anyway. What we had proposed was that 30 houses a year could be done community-led. So over 10 years, that would be 300 houses. That would leave the other 49,700 to be done the traditional way. 49,700 to be done the traditional way, where we would have done 300. We would also be within bringing these new homes back into circulation. We were talking retrofit, we was talking the empty homes program, where people have got houses in our communities that have been stood there but nobody lives there. We would bring them back in. We would also have X number of people visit the website, but the other thing that was crucial to me was that 45% of self-builders would receive construction training. That would bring 500 unemployed people back into the employment market. Plumbers, electricians, roofers, landscape gardeners. So when housing associations speak about housing, they speak about units. We're going to build 50 units. When we talk about it, we're building 50 homes. There's a massive difference when you look at them as units and when you look at them as homes. So again, within our strategy document, again, people ask me, well, what happened to that strategy document? That strategy document, in principle, sits in the local authority offices, probably gathering dust. I did that in 2016. It's 2023 now. And part of that is because of political willingness. So, for example, I live in a council, a Labour council, but we've got a Conservative government. So what the council have told me is they don't want to promote what we've done, the research, because they don't want the Conservative governments taking advantage of it. So it sits there. I'm only hoping and praying that if Labour gets in at the next election, that they may action it. But we're going to speak a little bit more about that in a little while, because I'm part of another lobbying organisation which is looking at changing that. Next slide, please. Next slide. In Leeds, we have, since Frontline started in '88, we have a fantastic, or it has a good history of cooperative housing projects. So we have projects like Latch, which is working with homeless people, creating volunteers to change their own housing. We have Canopy, which is doing more or less the same, looking at working with homeless people. We have Gypsal, an organisation that's supporting independent living with young people who are sofa surfing. We have a project that you may have all heard about, a co-housing project called Lilac, which happened in 2006, which is a really good project, but a bit, because you have to have your own finance to put into it. Then we have more recently just completed, in fact, tonight, they're having their official opening of the Chaco project in Leeds, Chapeltown co-housing, where they've just finished building 29 houses. I'm not going to be able to get to the opening, so they're not going to be happy about that, but that's tonight. So in Leeds, we have, and I'm really proud of that, we have a really good cooperative housing movement, but it's still not getting the traction. It's still not creating the waves within Leeds. Next slide. Core benefits. I want to speak about some of the core benefits. Go through the flip until I get the sheet down. Quality housing stock is increased. Empty homes are reduced. Better housing design and innovation. Increased diverse and eco-housing profile. Inward investment for Leeds is increased. Enterprise opportunities, construction and maintenance sector increased. Because I totally believe that one of the problems we have with existing housing in the UK, because some of the housing some of us are living in now were built maybe 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, some of them even longer than that. And the reason that they're still standing and that we're living in, because they're maintained well. Bad maintenance, and local authorities over the decades have badly maintained housing, you know. So increased diversification of the built environment. And when I talk about that, I talk about the opportunities around, and the poem man talked about it earlier, about encouraging young people, because as much as we talk about climate change, it's happening now. Right now, we're in climate change. It's not something that's coming, it's something that we're living in now. And some of the, I've got to watch how I say this, some of the dinosaurs that are making the laws are not going to be around, so it doesn't matter to them. But it does matter to our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren, and that's how we're supposed to be thinking. When the people built the communities 100 years, built those, they were thinking about the people that were going to be living in them. We should also be thinking that way. What do we want to leave to that next generation of young people? How we should be thinking. And it's not about cost, in my opinion, because the council build houses. Council get funding to build houses. That funding is paid back within 25 to 30 years. The houses live for another 75 years, so they're making profit apart from maintenance beyond that. Next slide. Right, I talk a lot about community wealth building, and I believe that housing is the foundation of community wealth building. The strategies defines community wealth as retaining more wealth and opportunity to the benefit of local people, challenging the current economic model that benefits a select few instead of benefiting the majority. Locally rooted institutions known as anchor institutions to create conditions for fair, as was said by the poem man, fair employment and labour markets, making financial power work for local people, and socially productive use of land and property. I mention that because I'm part of a group, next slide, am I ready for it? I'm part of a group called We're Right Here. And do visit the website if you've not been to the website. And We're Right Here is a lobbying group that is calling for a Community Power Act, a major piece of legislation which would fundamentally change where power lies in the country and lies within communities. Next slide. This proposal has three parts. Establishing community rights, so that would be number one, giving the community the right to buy community buildings and spaces within their area. So communities could come together by housing, communities could come together as a land trust and have land. community right to shape our public services, and a community right to control investment. So communities have a right to say where they think funding should be spent within their communities at any given time, not to just have it imposed on us. These rights are designed to support and encourage local communities to take actions to shape their future of their neighborhoods. Next slide. The Community Act 3 rights, and if you go on the website, www.we'righthere.co.uk, and you'll see all, and please, if you do go on, have a look, join the movement. You can register to just become a member. And what we're doing over the next couple of months, we're at all the political conferences, lobbying the Conservative government as they stand, lobbying the Labour Party, hopefully they'll get in, lobbying all political parties to give power, some power, back to communities, back to young people, back to communities, such as what's happening here today. Back one. And one of the big things we'd like to see is a community power commissioner, somebody that is in the community but linked into the system, but their office is in the community, not down at the civic hall, not in another place, but an actual office in the community where people can go every day and speak to them. So yeah, we believe the Community Power Act is the missing piece of the devolution puzzle, because they're using devolution in creating mayors around the country, which is supposed to change that. But what's happening on the ground in communities? Next slide. 4 million homes. I'm also part of the 4 million homes network, which is the cooperative housing movement, which is running a series of training courses around the country. We've just done London, Birmingham, Liverpool and Leeds. We're going to Bristol, Newcastle, somewhere in Wales, I can't remember, and somewhere else. But the 4 million homes, and again, do look this up, is a strategy for training residents in their communities to come together to take more control. It's about resident training. So residents can start working together. Last slide before I get a finger up again. So yeah, they're the organizations I'm kind of always pitching for. Community Land Trust Network, Same Skies is a think tank, We're Right Here, Climate Action Leeds, and 4 Million Homes. Please visit the 4 Million Homes website. Thank you.